Picture this, you save up, you finally buy your dream car. It's brand new 2 months old, shiny paint, flawless finish. The kind of car you park a little farther from the grocery store door just to keep it safe. Now imagine pulling into your condo garage, the place where your HOA swears your car will be secure. A controlled space, protected, paid for with your monthly dues. And then, bang, the garage shutter slams down, not in front of you. Not behind you, but right on top of your new car. B-roll, slow motion shot of a garage door crashing down. Cut to stock footage of a shocked driver inspecting a car hood. Metal twists. Paint chips, dents appear instantly. Your heart sinks. You step out, stunned. This wasn't an accident on the road. It wasn't weather. This wasn't even your fault. The very structure of your condo, the common area the HOA is supposed to maintain, just attacked your car. Now comes the bigger question. Who pays for this damage? Your insurance? Their insurance? Or do you somehow get stuck with the bill for something you had no control over? The homeowner at the center of this story lives in Seattle, Washington. And when they turned to Reddit for help, they didn't just spark a conversation, they opened the floodgates. Dozens of homeowners piled in with their own horror stories, broken gates crushing roofs, security barriers scratching cars, HOAs dodging responsibility at every turn. Some said, that's what car insurance is for. Others swore, no way, this is negligent maintenance. The HOA has to pay. One commenter even shared how a condo gate once crashed on their roof and the HOA's insurance covered the full replacement. So which is it? A simple insurance claim or a legal tug-of-war that could drag on for months? And here's the kicker, this isn't just one unlucky car owner. This is a snapshot of a bigger problem. A system where HOAs collect your money for maintenance, but when maintenance fails, they duck, dodge, and deflect. B-roll, montage of HOA violation letters, gavel slamming, angry residents in meetings. Today, we're unpacking this story, a brand new car, a failing shutter, an HOA caught in the middle. And the bigger question, when HOA property damages your property, do they step up? Or leave you stranded? Stay tuned because this is about to get messy. Let's set the scene. Seattle, Washington. A city where condos aren't just popular, they're a necessity. Parking space is scarce, garages are prized, and security shutters are the gatekeepers between residents and the busy city streets outside. This particular condo complex was supposed to be one of those safe havens, a place where monthly dues to the homeowners association bought more than landscaping or hallway lights. It bought peace of mind, the kind of peace that comes from knowing the common property was maintained, inspected, and reliable. For one resident, that trust shattered in an instant. We'll call them Alex. Alex had just purchased a new car. 2 months old. The kind of car you admire from every angle when you park it. The kind of car you try to keep spotless, free from scratches and dents. A car that felt like a milestone, something worth celebrating. Alex parked it in the garage like always. A garage with a big rolling shutter door meant to keep everything safe. A mechanical shield that separated the private world of condo living from the public street outside. It wasn't supposed to be a source of danger, but then, with no warning, it failed. The shutter came crashing down. Not a slow roll, not a partial malfunction, but a complete collapse. And it landed right on the front of Alex's car. The hood crumpled, the paint chipped. The sharp metal edge left visible marks on a car that should have been flawless for years to come. The first feeling was shock, then anger. Because Alex knew this wasn't the result of careless driving. It wasn't vandalism, it wasn't an accident of nature. It was a failure of the very structure that the HOA was supposed to maintain. So Alex did what anyone in their position would do. First, photos. Proof of the damage, proof of the shutter lying where it shouldn't. Second, a report to the property manager. Third, the big question, who pays? On paper, the answer looks simple. The shutter is part of the condo's common area. Common areas fall under the HOA's responsibility. The HOA collects dues every month precisely so those areas are maintained, insured, and safe. So it seems obvious that the HOA's master insurance policy should cover the repair costs. But if you've ever dealt with an HOA, you already know it's never that straightforward. Yes, Alex had auto insurance. But why should a homeowner's personal insurance be the first resort when the cause of the damage was HOA infrastructure? Why should Alex pay a deductible for a problem that came from equipment they didn't own and couldn't control? The comparison is simple. If a storm sends a tree branch through your windshield, that's an act of God. But a metal shutter doesn't just fall out of the sky. It requires neglect. It requires a failure in maintenance. It requires human error. The questions piled up quickly. Should the HOS insurer step in? Should Alex's auto insurance handle it and then chase reimbursement later? If Alex filed through Geico, their own insurer, would they ever get their deductible back? And if the HOA dragged its feet, how long could this dispute drag out? Unsure of the process and wary of being pushed around, Alex turned to Reddit. The post was simple but urgent. Can the HOA be held responsible? Can their insurance be forced to pay? Has anyone fought this battle before and won? And what steps should I take before this gets buried in excuses? It didn't take long for responses to pour in. Other condo residents, other homeowners, people who had lived through the same nightmare, some sympathetic, some blunt, some resigned. A few even offered hope. The comment section turned into a round table of lived experience. Some said Alex should file directly with their car insurance and let the insurer handle the fight. Others warned that the HOA would almost certainly try to deny liability unless negligence could be proven. A handful pointed out that failing infrastructure isn't an act of God, it's a failure of duty, and that matters legally. And one person even shared a nearly identical story where a condo gate crushed the roof of their car, and in that case the HOA's insurance paid in full. Suddenly, this wasn't just Alex's problem. It was a glimpse into a bigger conflict, one that condo owners across the country face every year. When HOA property fails, who takes the hit? The board, the insurer, or the innocent homeowner who just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time? That was the question Alex was left with. And that is where the conflict truly begins. After the shutter came crashing down and the damage was plain to see, Alex expected the homeowners association to act swiftly. This was not a mystery, not a gray area. The shutter belonged to the association. It wasn't Alex's property. It wasn't optional maintenance. It was their job. So Alex filed the report and waited. The property manager acknowledged the message, but instead of a clear answer, Alex got the first taste of what so many homeowners know too well, the HO huffle. Vague replies, shifting responsibility. Suggestions that maybe Alex should go through your car insurance first? That single line told Alex everything. The board was preparing to pass the buck. Alex asked directly, isn't this a common area repair? Doesn't the HOA carry a master insurance policy? Shouldn't that cover it? The response came back cautious, almost rehearsed. We'll have to review the incident and consult our insurer. In the meantime, it may be faster for you to go through your own auto insurance. Now, for anyone who has ever dealt with insurance companies, those words ring alarm bells. Going through your own insurance means paying a deductible. It means risking a premium increase. It means starting the process from a position of financial loss. Even if the insurer tries to subrogate, that is, go after the HOA's insurance later, it could take months, even years. And there's no guarantee Alex would see that deductible again. Meanwhile, the damage wasn't small. We're talking about the hood of a 2-month-old car being crumpled by a heavy metal shutter, the kind of repair that can run into the thousands. Alex returned to Reddit, updating the thread. The frustration was palpable. Why am I the one being told to pay when the HOA was responsible? Why should I eat a deductible for their negligence? And this is where the comments section lit up with real-world stories. One user wrote, my condo's gate malfunctioned and damaged 3 cars. The HOA fought it for weeks, then finally their insurance paid out, but only after a lawyer got involved. Another warned, they'll stonewall you until you either give up or make it too expensive for them not to settle. Document everything. But perhaps the most telling response came from someone who laid it out in brutal honesty. HOAs know most homeowners don't have the money or time to fight. They rely on that. The only way they move is when they realize you're serious, and that usually means legal letters. Armed with that advice, Alex weighed the options. File a claim through Geico immediately, take the hit, and hope the insurer fought it out behind the scenes. Or stand their ground, refuse to pay for a problem they didn't cause, and push the HOA to accept responsibility directly. Neither choice was easy. The first path meant instant financial loss. The second path meant weeks of stress, unanswered emails, maybe even board meetings where neighbors side-eyed and whispered about the troublemaker. But Alex knew the principle mattered. If they rolled over once, what message would that send? That the HOA could neglect basic maintenance, cause thousands of dollars in damage, and walk away without consequence? So Alex doubled down. More photos, more written communication. A paper trail building day by day. Every unanswered email, every vague reply from the property manager, every excuse documented. It became clear the HOA was hoping this would quietly disappear, that Alex would grow tired and go away. But Alex refused. And the longer this dragged on, the angrier they became. One comment summed it up perfectly. The HOA exists to protect property values. If their negligence destroys your property and they won't fix it, then what's the point of paying dues at all? And that's the heart of the conflict. A homeowner paying every month into a system that promised security, only to find out the moment it really mattered that system wanted nothing to do with them. That's when Alex realized this wasn't just about a car, it was about accountability. It was about whether HOAs should be allowed to operate like mini-governments with no real oversight. It was about how far an average homeowner had to go just to get justice for something that should have been obvious from the start. This was no longer just a broken shutter, it was a broken promise. And the fight was only beginning. What happened to Alex in Seattle might feel unique, but if you spend even a few minutes searching online, you'll see it's anything but rare. HOAs across the United States have developed a reputation for shifting responsibility, dodging accountability, and leaving homeowners to fight uphill battles just to protect what's rightfully theirs. Take, for example, a case out of Arizona where a malfunctioning HOA irrigation system flooded several townhomes. The HOAS board insisted the homeowners file individual claims through their insurance. After months of disputes, it came out that the HOA's own master policy clearly covered common area equipment failures. But by then, some homeowners had already paid out deductibles and seen their premiums spike. Or the case in Florida, where a gated community's malfunctioning entry arm dropped down on a passing car, smashing the windshield. The HOA initially blamed the driver, claiming they entered too quickly. Only after the homeowner hired an attorney and threatened litigation did the HOA's insurance quietly pay for the repairs. These are not isolated incidents. In fact, a 2022 survey by the Foundation for Community Association research found that nearly 30% of disputes between homeowners and their HOAs involve damage or financial harm, tied directly to maintenance or board negligence. The pattern is clear. When something goes wrong, many HOAs are far more interested in protecting their budgets than protecting their members. And that tendency leads to absurd results. One Redditor shared a story about a Texas HOA that refused to repair a crumbling retaining wall until it collapsed onto a homeowner's yard. Another recalled a case in California where an HOA board ignored complaints about a malfunctioning sprinkler head until it destroyed part of a homeowner's fence. In both cases, the homeowners spent months battling just to prove that these were, in fact, the HOA's responsibilities. The wider issue is accountability, or rather, the lack of it. HOAs are run by boards of volunteers who may or may not understand property law, insurance obligations, or even the basics of fiduciary duty. Yet they wield enormous power over residents' lives and wallets. When something goes wrong, homeowners often discover there's no easy place to turn. Local government usually won't intervene. State regulators are limited. And the HOA itself has every incentive to drag its feet, knowing legal costs alone will discourage many members from fighting back. And when you zoom out, the numbers are staggering. More than 74 million Americans live under HOA or Condo Association rules. That's 1 in 5 people in the country. Multiply Alex's story by even a small percentage of that population, and you see the scale of the problem. For every viral Reddit post, there are thousands of homeowners quietly paying deductibles, losing property value, or absorbing financial losses because their HOA found a way to look the other direction. So Alex's fight over a damaged car isn't just one person's headache. It's part of a nationwide pattern where homeowners are forced to act as their own lawyers, insurers, and advocates simply because the very organizations meant to protect them too often protect themselves instead. When you strip away the emotion and the frustration, Alex's case boils down to 2 major questions. What does the law actually say about HOA responsibility? And what ethical duties should a board follow when something like this happens? Legally, most condominium and HOA communities operate under a set of governing documents, the Declaration of Covenants, conditions, and restrictions, often called the CC and RS, along with bylaws and rules. In almost every case, these documents clearly divide responsibility between what the HOA maintains and what individual homeowners must maintain. For condos, exterior walls, parking lots, roofs, and shared systems like irrigation or gates almost always fall under the HOS jurisdiction. That means if damage comes from a failed gate arm, a broken irrigation line, or a crumbling shared wall, the HOA has a duty to repair the issue and often to cover damages caused by it. In legal terms, the HOA owes a duty of care to its members because it controls the common property. If it neglects that duty, it can be held liable for resulting harm. But here's the catch. To enforce that duty, homeowners usually have to sue, file arbitration, or go through mediation. That's a heavy lift for a regular person who just wants a dented car fixed. Most homeowners don't have the time, money, or appetite for a drawn-out legal battle, and HOAs know this. That imbalance of power is why so many boards can dodge responsibility, at least initially, by pointing fingers at homeowners or their insurance companies. Ethically, though, the issue is even clearer. HOA boards are supposed to act in the best interest of the community as a whole. That means protecting members, preserving property values, and resolving conflicts fairly. In Alex's case, the ethical response would have been simple. Acknowledge that the malfunctioning gate caused the damage, file a claim on the HOA's insurance, and make the homeowner whole. Instead, the board chose to stonewall, creating unnecessary conflict and stress for one of its own members. This kind of behavior undermines trust. It turns an organization that should function like a cooperative into something adversarial. And once that trust is broken, it doesn't just hurt the one homeowner, it poisons the entire community. Neighbors start to wonder if the board will have their back when something goes wrong, or if they too will be left on their own. There's also the broader legal-ethical overlap. Courts across the country have ruled that HOA boards carry fiduciary duties. That means they're legally required to act with loyalty, care, and good faith toward their members. Ignoring valid claims, shifting blame, or dragging things out to avoid responsibility can easily be interpreted as a breach of that duty. So while an individual case might not always reach the courtroom, the principles at stake are serious. They cut to the heart of whether HOAs are living up to their purpose or failing the very communities they were meant to serve. To understand Alex's situation more clearly, it helps to step into the shoes of people who deal with these disputes every day. Imagine asking a property law attorney, an insurance adjuster, and a community management professional for their take. The attorney would likely start with the governing documents. They'd say something like, when an HOA controls access points, like a gate system, the association is responsible for maintaining and repairing it. If that system malfunctions and causes damage, liability usually falls on the HOA. The challenge for homeowners is that boards sometimes delay or deny responsibility until forced by legal pressure. In other words, Alex had the law on his side, but without pushing back, the board had little incentive to act. An insurance adjuster might add another angle. They'd explain that HOAs almost always carry liability insurance for accidents on common property. Filing a claim is exactly what that policy is for. But boards often resist filing because they fear premiums will rise or coverage might be questioned. So, instead of using the insurance they already pay for, they try to shift the financial burden onto individual homeowners. From a professional standpoint, that decision is short-sighted and unfair. Finally, a community management expert would probably focus on governance. They'd point out that HOA boards are made up of volunteers, often with little formal training. Many don't fully understand their own obligations. A manager would say, the right move is always transparency. If an HOA denies responsibility when it's clear they're at fault, they damage community trust. A board should communicate, explain, and resolve, not stonewall. Together, these expert perspectives paint a consistent picture. Legally, the AO had a duty. Financially, insurance existed to cover the damage. Ethically, the board should have acted with integrity. And yet Alex faced resistance at every step. That is not just frustrating, it shows how the system can fail ordinary homeowners, unless they know their rights and insist on accountability. Alex's story may have started with nothing more than a dented car, but it reveals something much bigger. It shows what happens when an HOA forgets its purpose. Instead of serving the community, the board turned defensive, shifting blame and hoping the problem would simply go away. For Alex, that meant weeks of stress, endless back and forth, and the sinking feeling that his own community leaders were working against him, not for him. The lesson here is twofold. First, homeowners need to know their rights. Governing documents, state laws, and insurance policies exist for a reason. If you're ever caught in a similar situation, document everything, push for answers in writing, and don't be afraid to escalate when the board refuses to act. Second, boards themselves need to remember why they exist. Their duty isn't just legal, it's moral. They hold power on behalf of their neighbors, and with that power comes responsibility. For every Alex who speaks up, there are countless others who quietly pay the price, covering damages or accepting fines simply because they don't know how to fight back. That's why these stories matter. They shine a light on the imbalance of power and the patterns of abuse that can emerge when authority goes unchecked. If you've lived through your own HOA nightmare, you know exactly how isolating it feels, but you're not alone. Across the country, homeowners are waking up, sharing their stories, and demanding better accountability from their associations. So now I'll turn it over to you. Have you ever been blamed by your HOA for something that wasn't your fault? Have you fought back against an unfair fine, denial, or accusation? Share your story in the comments below. Every voice adds strength, every story builds awareness, and together we can push for the fairness and transparency that every homeowner deserves. And if this story resonated with you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more HOA injustice stories, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because the more we expose these cases, the harder it becomes for boards to hide behind silence and stonewalling. Alex's case may be one story out of Seattle, but it's also a warning and a rallying cry. HOAs were meant to protect communities. It's time they start living up to that promise.